Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So that's essentially the Massachusetts story. If there's no New Deal economic populism with concrete measures and delivering the goods in terms of a rising standard of living, full employment, and fighting the banks, fighting their credit card practices, fighting the predatory loan artists and so forth, well, then people look around for populism, and they can be very easily duped by fake cultural populism, whether it's the jelly beans, the horseshoes, the pickup truck in this case, the plaid shirt, whatever it is, all this fakery. They fall for that, and then they're surprised when they get skinned alive. So that is the lesson. At the same time, though, let's look at the Scott Brown a little bit. We have to compare him, I think, to the guy who just became the governor of Virginia. Governor McDonnell of Virginia is, as I observed it, a reactionary Republican who understands you can't run as a reactionary Republican now because the hatred of Bush Cheney is still very much alive, and anybody who comes forward as an orthodox lockstep Republican is not going to fare well. You've got to pretend to be a moderate. You've got to pretend to be amiable, not vindictive, not angry, not Cheney, apocalyptic and all that. You've got to feign a veneer of amiable moderation, hide how reactionary you are. In the case of McDonnell, his reactionary qualities come out in the form of this guy Cuccinelli, who is now the Attorney General of Virginia, and that guy is a union buster, and that's the entire watchword of the regime in Virginia now is going to be union busting, and they're talking interposition, nullification. They're back to the South Carolina vocabulary, cradle of secession kind of stuff. So this seems to be the Scott Brown. Now, he says he's an independent. Okay, Scott Brown, you're going to join the reactionary Republican lockstep in the Congress or not? We'll soon find out. Notice that the Republicans want to showcase these types, good-looking, pretty boy, face men, whatever they are, who pretend to be moderate, who pretend to be nice and amiable and polite and not sectarian and so forth. So this McDonnell is going to give the Republican response to Obama's State of the Union address next week on the 27th of January. Now, my advice to Obama, if you want to have any chance of surviving, you want to get some traction here, you declare war on Wall Street in that State of the Union address. Go big. Talk about Goldman Sachs. Talk about J.P. Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, Bank of New York Mellon, Wells Fargo, and the rest of the malefactors of great wealth, right? Economic royalists, malefactors of great wealth, the Wall Street money power, the gluttons of privilege, the bonus boys, the bonus army at Goldman Sachs, right? $500,000 a head, and the rainmakers, of course, get much more. And then come with some positive things. Fire Geithner before then. Fire Summers. Get them out of there. Pull the rug out from under Bernanke. Come up with a replacement candidate for Bernanke who's got some kind of reform credentials. Hard to find, but there are such people. And then, as I point out in this article, time for a Tobin tax. The Tobin tax is very much in the news. Let's talk about this. CNBC freaking out, others freaking out. David Stockman, you remember him, the OMB director of Reagan. Interesting the way the world evolves. David Stockman has a new book, Tax the Banks. I haven't seen it yet, but that's a book that might be worth reading. David Stockman, deficit hawk in those days, right? Reagan took him to the woodshed. Remember this? Tax the banks, says Stockman. Now, we had a debate about this on CNBC. And we also had an article in the Wall Street Journal op-ed page 10 days ago. What is the Wall Street defense against the Tobin tax, the securities transfer tax, the trading tax? They say, no, you can't do that to us. That's communism. Why is it? And they say, don't single us out for punitive treatment. We should not be punished. We should not be hit with sin taxes. We should not be hit with excise taxes. Don't treat stock transactions, derivatives, and so forth as if they were whiskey, cigarettes, perfume. You put a special tax on it. Boys, That is not what's being proposed. Everybody in the U.S. pays a sales tax. It's generally between 6% and 11% on everything they buy in terms of shoes, clothing, electronics, furniture. In many states, even on groceries. So if we wanted to treat Wall Street just the same as everybody else, we'd be calling for a sales tax on Wall Street of between 6 and 11%. Now, maybe that's what we should do. I guess listening to their arguments, I see their duplicity and their demagogy. The most radical proposal for a Tobin tax, I think, is mine. It's a 1% Tobin tax. That's like a 1% sales tax on Wall Street. That's giving them privileged status. Maybe we should rethink that. Maybe no privileged status at all. Treat stock and derivative transactions just like any other sale. Anybody else sells something, they pay sales tax. Wall Street is now completely immune. They pay nothing. And then they scream, don't single us out for punitive treatment by hitting us with 0.5% or 1% or even 1 mil. I mean, the DeFazio proposal there in the House is it's a minimal tax. And they scream, we're being punished. This is a vendetta. We're being scapegoated. Well, maybe we should just say, let's treat everybody absolutely equal and slap a 6 to 11% sales tax on Wall Street. Now, that is not my proposal yet. But to hear these hypocrites, and now come out with that, Obama, a Tobin tax. There was some kind of a meeting in the Congress, and I'm still trying to track this down, a meeting in the Congress in the past week about the Tobin tax, the trading tax, the securities transfer tax. This could be the centerpiece, because if you come out with that, the Republicans will scream bloody murder, and they will get creamed, because they're going to stand up and say, no, Wall Street has to be immune from all sales taxes, when John Q. Public, Joe Sixpack, Mr. and Mrs. America are paying between 6 and 11% on clothing, shoes, furniture, electronics, and again, in some reactionary, regressive taxation states like Virginia, even on your grocery bill, which amounts to a huge tax. And we have the Maryland raised from 5 to 6% last year. This is all regressive taxation. This is horrible. The Tobin tax, the securities transfer tax, or trading tax, is a progressive tax. In other words, it hits the wealthiest harder, and that is what you want to do with taxation. So if Obama and the Democrats want to save themselves from the pitchforks, which are now out, the pitchforks are glinting in the sun. The populist pitchforks are out there. If Obama sticks with his current profile, he will be rolled over by cultural populists who will attack him as an effete snob and all the rest of the stuff. But if you want to make a sharp anti-Wall Street turn, economic populist turn, New Deal turn, then a Tobin tax. What's the Republican argument against the Tobin tax? I don't think there are any that will hold up for 1 minute. Now, in terms of infrastructure, we have Zuckerman, the head of U.S. News, publisher, and so forth. They're writing about, Zuckerman writes in the Wall Street Journal that the Depression is still on, that 17 to 18% unemployment officially is a disaster. It's a catastrophe for the United States. He wants to go, however, with the National Infrastructure Bank. That's the Felix Rohatyn-Mayfo bill proposal. That is taken apart and discredited in Obama, the Postmodern Coup, the article there by Bruce Marshall from a couple of years ago now. Don't go with that. Go with a real infrastructure program. Back in a minute.